Um, so I guess you can just call me Base Cannon for now. Um, Pretty much, I just kind of want to make this like almost like a diary of sorts. Cliche, I know. Everyone starts with a diary at some point, but I'd say this is more of a monologue, if anything, because like growing up, it's it's hard. It's hard being a person with so many disabilities, mental illnesses. It's incredibly hard. Yeah, some days are easier than others, and some days are the worst of the worst. Your lows are your lowest, and your highs are barely considered a high. If anything, it's more of a normalcy for most individuals. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I'm the worst off in terms of disability, but I would say I have wasted my life. My life has been that of stagnation, if anything, most stagnation. Nowadays, it's almost like detriment. Uh, sorry, it's more of a deteriorating. The more I live, if you could even call it living, the more I see myself just deteriorating each day. Sure, there are times that I will have bouts of what I can only assume is happiness, but I'm not sure if I can even call it that. I'm an incredibly depressed individual, and I know there's a lot of people who are depressed. They don't show it often, and because of society, societal norms, social norms, they don't want to expose that type of side of themselves to another person because they know that even though the person might care, it's also off-putting. So I would say this, that even though I have depression, clinical depression, I am trying my best to more or less figure out what I want to do to make myself happy. I know I kind of started this video off with basically just talking about how woe is me, but honestly, it's hard. I live in America, California to be exact, and it is incredibly, and I mean incredibly hard to get um, basically any form of healthcare at all. And the more you try, the longer the wait list. And sometimes they even forget about you on the wait list. I know a lot of people can relate to that, waiting forever and only for them to forget about you. Much like how a lot of people forget about you in your life. I don't know. I don't know why I'm making this video to be exact. I guess just to vent out frustration, be able to talk out loud. Because of just one thing I did so much when I was younger, even growing up to an early adulthood, was just talk to myself. Talk to myself as if like someone was there and I was having a conversation with them. And it was so weird. It's so weird now thinking about it. How I would just go on and on and on talking about everything, my plans, my future plans, what I had for lunch that day, what I think of a person, what I think of the current situation, what I want to do next time I get to go outside, all that stuff. it's such a relief to be able to just vent it out into a video. And ultimately, even if someone were to hear this, I really hope it's someone who isn't struggling, because it's heartbreaking. As much as you want to relate to another person that's suffering just like you, it's also heartbreaking knowing they're also suffering like you. If anything, this is just a little dive inside the mind of someone with schizophrenia and autism and now agoraphobia and depression, anxiety. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy how how you get diagnosed with one mental illness only for it to stack up a few years later. It was even crazier is that when I was first diagnosed with schizophrenia, I thought it was a joke, but no, it turned out to be real. Turns out I do hallucinate and I hear voices, but I haven't heard them in a while because of medication. Oh, that's another thing. Um, there's a certain medication out there called Aristotle. If you ever know a loved one who's suffering from schizophrenia, please, for the love of God, don't put them on that. It's gonna ruin them. Not only does it shut down your metabolism to a crawl, so even if you were to go on a deficit, you'll still gain the weight unless you do a lot of exercise afterwards, because it just slows your metabolism. But it also makes you more depressed, surprisingly. Something that's supposed to stop depression and your schizophrenic tendencies are supposedly heightened in a way, and it's almost like an addiction, because if you go even a few days without it, let's say a week without it, you let's say before your symptoms were minor at best and a little bit medium at worst. Well, now every day it's gonna be very very severe without that medication, and it's disheartening. Um, though I know I'm just kind of talking in circles and mostly just talking to the void. But if someone were to hear this, and even if they don't have a mental illness, don't do what I did and sacrifice it all just because you're afraid of the world. Because if you're afraid of the world, even if it's just for a minor period of time, that's enough time for you to lose track of everything and just spend 9 years of your life after high school uh, doing nothing of major importance anyway. Major importance being going to school, holding a 9 to 5, living independently, all those things that, at least growing up, I deemed um, being major things that one should do as an adult. Yeah, I didn't do any of that. I tried to. I really did. But the more I try, the harder it becomes now, especially with a lack of determination and ultimately a lack of discipline. I feel I lost all discipline after I left college, and the more I try to gain that discipline back, the harder it gets. It's depressing. This is pretty depressing, but I will say this: don't lose hope. just don't lose hope. It's as crappy as things might be right now, it could be, it will be for a bit, as you're struggling to make changes. Just know that things do eventually get better, but they will get a whole lot worse first. And I'm prime proof of that. I was way worse a few years ago, but now I'm slowly recovering. Well, this will be all for this video. Oh, and if you're wondering why my voice is like this, believe it or not, I also got diagnosed with COPD because of my last job, my last part-time job, and now I sound very nasally, and it's unfortunate. But thank you very much for listening. If you did to my rambles, as depressing as it is, but yeah, thank you.